sequences as well. So we're going to see a pretty large shift, a pretty large shift in regard to the tribe identity kind of being more crystallized, but more importantly, the new aspect of our identity in 2024. So there's going to be a lot of different elements here. You could also see with my PFP change, one of the unique things here as well is we made, an essential vote here, right? Which is really cool, where we've had our community and specifically our diamond holders vote on some of the actions within our ecosystem. And one of our first votes here was essentially on the vote of unlocking Ronin, one of our ordinal projects. So because of that, the vote successfully passed. We are now accelerating Ronin through a launch cycle here as well. There's still a lot of stuff for us to get right. It's even though we have like art generally ready, and a lot of the sets already ready. The biggest advantage we now have is taking those pieces and coalescing it into a full launch, which means meaningful marketing, partnerships, and alignments here as well. Right, is going to be a pretty fun factor for us. So I've updated my PFP to one of the PFPs of Rodin. I call this one the Lion King. It's got the lion mask on it. Always really kind of love these colors, of course, going into ordinal orange. We're still figuring out a lot of different elements here too to kind of unlock the overall ecosystem, which is going to be pretty interesting. No Solana for us. We actually have zero current product implementation for Solana or expectations. We're really not interested in Solana, not because I don't think Solana is of value. I think Solana is just honestly one of those chains that you're cyclically building on and betting for those cycles. And to be honest, a cycle has already happened. You really want to look at Solana as one of those honestly interesting counterpoints to the rest of the market. It's been really interesting to see how they've run. I don't think there's anything wrong, quote unquote, building on Solana. I just don't think that's been an ethos thus far, into our ecosystem here as well. So, we're really trying to stay heads down and focus on the chains that matter most to us. And that right now still is ETH and BTC, right? Those are really it, right? That's all we're focusing on here at the moment right now. And of course trying to keep our emphasis very clear. So in 2024 we do believe in this gaming meta being very large, and one of the ways that we believe Tribe is going to best be able to participate in that gaming is with the participation of and access to upcoming top tier gaming projects. That's really where we think the heart and soul of this entity is being able to get meaningful access to all of the best gaming builders across Web3. We've been able to do that really successfully, especially if you're just looking in this last quarter. The allocations we've been able to get to projects like, whether it be AOF Verse or Poglin or, Farcana. On all of those, I believe we got the largest allocations to an individual community, very similarly, right? Even getting exposure to projects like Overworld and, what you're now seeing with some of these larger plays, it becomes even more exciting. There's Wallet Wars there, which we also had a very large allocation or the largest allocation for as well. There's Vendetta games. There's a handful of other pieces that are coming in. And I think that's really our big challenge, right? Is how do we keep connecting and communicating with all the best builders that are building out what we think are going to be potentially short-term or long-term sustainable gaming ecosystems. And the reason I say short-term and long-term is, right, there are two games here. The short-term game is how well can they play the degen narrative. The long-term game is how well can they build the product, right? And those are two very distinct ways of product value creation in this market. And we want to find the right people for that. So this is essentially what Village has become. The little bit of insight here is Village is maturing to a whole like another entity concept, where our goal is to bring in more of these Village like partnerships, these detailed, deeper partnerships across the gaming industry too. So you guys are going to see very quickly, as those of you who've been participating and active in our community, you're going to get the actual insight and access to the first layer of these ecosystems here in early Q1, like very early Q1, right? Which I think is going to be extremely exciting. I think the other big thing that is going to be a real part of our thesis as well is what are other chains that we want to start getting you guys access to as well. So that's been the nice thing, right? Like when I say Farcana is really exciting because again, it was Polygon exposure, sitting at 1.6, 1.7 ETH, right? Now what I'm really excited about is unlocking, stuff for AVAX. Maybe there is a Solana project, maybe there's a Starknet project, maybe there's an Arbitrum project, right? Our goal is to be increasing our exposure into all of these opportunities and being there early. And then it's also about what chains that come out brand new do we want to be very early on, right? And that there's going to be some interesting calculated bets for that thinking as well. So what I love here is there's a bunch of opportunities, and what we're now trying to sustain this ecosystem as is an opportunity to give you guys access to all of these other projects as well. So over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right, you're going to see like this huge opportunity in this vision of where this is going, right? We're going to give you guys more access, more visions, more layers of value, but we're going to stick what's true to Tribe, right? What's true to this entity. And that means being a great growth, marketing, and community support engine for a lot of products. And then the flip side, right, we're also going to start running a few of our own projects. But our projects are going to be different in their roles and their goals, right? What we're doing with Ronin is very different. Ronin is not built to be a gaming based project, but it's going to have deep, deep gamified upside here as well. So you're going to see a lot of interesting ways that we apply our ecosystem and take them out in a very non-extractive manner. That's the other important thing of what we're trying to design. We're not trying to introduce extraction from our entity to you. What we're trying to do is find a very meaningful and balanced way of pricing and upside, and more importantly, access and upside, right? If you look at what relics are our way of creating a currency of value without meaningful extraction, right? We're charging you less for your souls than what most of your gas transactions might have been this past quarter, right? And I love that kind of thesis and build formation because it means that the value that we're asking for you guys to spend on is value that can be accrued through multiple projects, and it allows you to own and build the portfolio for you, right? It's why we don't recommend farming any specific projects, right? What we will recommend is why farming is healthy and why you should be looking at new networks for that in general. But we're not going to be hard on pushing one over the other because that's really not our place. Our place is the framework of understanding how to play this ecosystem, right? That's what I'm much more interested in. So the way you want to play this ecosystem is that you should be a collector primarily on one or two networks, depending on your time availability. You should be looking at healthy farm opportunities on one and or two networks that you think are going to have high upside, right? And then really from there, you should be having a meaningful position in stables or L1 tokens. Those are like a pretty healthy balanced portfolio that we are generally optimizing for. And what I mean by that is when we're generally optimizing for that, our goal is to give you all of those choices. So some of you might end up becoming Soul Maxis. Some of you might become ETH Maxis, Avalanche Maxis. Doesn't matter to us as long as you're taking a wider portfolio in your approach. That's what we want. We want you to have, we believe that you as consumers will be significantly healthier with greater exposure to Web3, greater exposure to gaming, greater exposures to NFTs, greater exposure to DeFi, right? And that's what farming is. Farming is literally just the first layer of DeFi upside, right? Understanding which protocols are going to give you greater yield for the actions you're taking. And a lot of whales are already doing this, right? Working with a lot of the whales in our community, the most exciting thing has generally been realizing is that many of these dudes have been farming for a very long time. Like 696.eth, I learned a ton from him. And he's been figuring out ways to, not only be on the right chains, but leverage the right tools and bots in order to season up the right wallets that play to the meta of how farming is usually being optimized for across different chains. So I want you guys to think about that as you roll into the new calendar year. What is 2024 going to truly mean for you guys? And what I could say is our recap, and again, we'll share this more like on our calendar. We're about to finalize the dates. We have some dates out here at the moment right now. We'll do a reflection in Tribe 2023. We're going to share a lot new stuff in regard to what diamonds are doing as well, and their value in this ecosystem here. You're also going to see a few different events for Ronin, and then there is something that is currently called Redacted at the moment that you'll see more information coming out from this entity about. And we have a very clear vision at Tribe, right? That, and a very clear vision of how we think this market is going to develop. And we're putting our bets on a few verticals that are very clear, right? The number one bet that we as an entity are going to be placing on is Web3 gaming. We're going to place a very large bet on that. I'm not saying that we're betting on the fact that many of these games are going to be the killer games that beat the market. That's not what we're playing. What we're playing for is that we believe Web3 gaming will drive a lot of the attention, narrative, and collector value in this market. And we want to give you guys access to that. Some of these might be games that actually fulfill and develop significant product opportunities, and those will be the breakouts. We believe those will be the huge opportunities, but the likelihood of that is still going to be very low. But what we know the likelihood that is high and strong is that gaming products are probably going to have some of the best correlated and strength of launches, especially if they're tying it in with both an NFT and a fungible ERC20 like token as well. And that's where I get really excited about in this market is that I believe that A, we as an entity are already really well positioned to do that. B, it means that we're only going to create more upside. If you look at the liquidity that we created just for our community in the last like 45 days, it's, if you discount shitcoin returns, we are by far giving the best upside to our community at a pretty consistent level. It's not even close. We think we could do that 2x or 3x better next year. That's what we're trying to really work on and really ensure that we have an entity that allows for that process for each and every one. Separately, I think the other thing you're going to see is that you're going to see myself also take less of a focus on doing live audio events publicly. I'm not saying that I won't do more, right? I still will do a meaningful amount. My goal, though, is that I want to return a lot of my time into product building and, of course, being behind the scenes on execution. This is where a lot of the work is. When we talked about the conversation of should founders take holidays off, you should always take your time off. But I'll tell you this, I took very little time off. I worked every single day this past week. Even, I worked my Christmas evening and, I worked all the way through Christmas Eve as well, mainly because I see the opportunity as far too great for this community. And it's our timing as well. We have a lot of stuff coming out in January and February here as well. But this is kind of what we've also learned, right? Is that if you look at what this entity has been, we have been consistently understanding and reflecting on where this market is going. We're taking insights and recognizing what is right and what is wrong, what have been plays that have been successful, what are plays that have not sustained. So I want you to all take that feedback as well and roll that into your own personal thesis for 2024. And I believe this entity and this community we built was going to be really critical for all of you guys as we provide more and more opportunities. I think one of the other really interesting things is that we've built this entity to like not even be scalable. to other individuals right now. We've actually kept this intentionally small. We don't really talk about bringing users into this community. We don't really put incentives to bring users into this community. And honestly, we make it intentionally hard to even understand what this community is doing. A lot of that is going to change in 2024, right? You're going to see a total new user flow. You're actually going to see a total new Discord experience come out completely that will allow us to actually bring on new users, bring on people at scale where they don't feel like they're way behind, right? And more importantly, it's going to give you guys upside, of course, if you've been here long term. Your souls still matter, right? Your assets still matter. The amount of claims that you're about to get are pretty meaningful here. And really it's about us knowing that we don't have to rush anything, right? We're not built for rushing. We're building on the collective value capture. And in doing so, it means that we can be very thoughtful with where we're leading. I actually believe that a real big opportunity that we then have now that we will emphasize is going to be on the ordinals front with Ronin. Ronin is going to be one where you're going to see us tactically share how we believe a healthy launch on Ordinal should look like. It's going to be very different. The rule sets are going to be very unique. The value and the protections that are offered are going to be significant more than anything that we've seen on the Ordinals front. And I think that's going to be exciting because it's the way we want to sustain the health of quite different from the rest of the market. We're not going to be utilizing, FOMO tactics. We're not going to be utilizing stuff that's going to be massive, massive misalignment with our community. Rather, Ronin is about bringing, already we have an existing, 150, 200 community members already that will be part of Ronin from Diamonds, and this existing community as well will have the largest allocation to it, but we also want to do small allocations to the right partner communities that are coming up here as well. So we'll share a little bit more about Ronin later this week. And then separately, what that means then, right, is then we'll also have Ronin auctions coming. We just haven't started the Ronin auctions yet because I just want you to have the full information. I'm just not in a big opportunity here, right, to force you guys some speculative upside, right, without knowing all the details. I think that's something that's still really critical to how Tribe functions and how this entity functions, is trying to give as much of the complete information on what's going and where things are being built. The team behind, though, has been working incredibly hard. Shout out to the pixel art team. Shout out to the collab and partnership teams, and shout out to the branding team. We're really trying to bring all those pieces together to kind of unlock our next chapter. So with that, guys, you'll see a few more events kind of show up on the calendar this week, but again, a little bit more quieter. I think there'll still be a gamified episode. I don't know if I'll be joining this week, just for time reasons. I really want to execute on a lot of this content and roll into the new year with as much like leverage as I possibly can, right? And that with that leverage, it means that it's partnership conversations. I think if there's one thing I can share that is super bullish, is that we're probably in partnership conversations with every gaming company you care about right now, right? That's like the type of reach we're going after. Doesn't mean we're going to close all of these individuals, but what does mean is that we're talking to every single one on collaboration opportunities. And with many of them, there's been already a number of partnerships closed. And we'll share about that, here in the very near future. Again, we're not in a rush, right? We're not really pushing from we're not really trying to push, hey, this is the hype cycle we need to run. That's not our goal is, right? Our goal is, our biggest challenge again in any kind of society or any kind of like web3 culture is ensuring that we are partnering with the ones that are most aligned with our network, most aligned with our long-term vision, most aligned with our long-term growth. And there's a lot of people who've seen how we've executed and they want to participate with that as well. So we're spending a lot of time here. We're going to keep making a lot more upside here. We're going to create a lot more value for you guys as well. And we'll share a lot more of that in the end of the year. And there'll also be some cool physical prizes. We'll even do a few more giveaways. There's going to be a few more amazing upsides here as well in regard to more raffles. I mean, that's kind of the fun thing, right? We're just giving away 5, 10, 20 ETH worth of stuff, during this holiday break. And this holiday break will continue through this week. We're going to give out a few more things, a few more upsides, a few more whitelists. But this is kind of where it is that we're just giving back from the treasury, right? And it's kind of funny because the amount of stuff we've probably are going to give from our treasury will soon eclipse like probably the total amount of ETH we've taken in. That's what we want to really be able to get to here, where it's like fully realized gains. It won't happen in the next week, but I think it'll happen in the next like 2 months. We'll pretty much give away, not including whitelist allocations. We're already way beyond that on whitelist allocations. I'm talking about just pure ETH given like with full guaranteed floor prices of like assets that are already minted. My goal is to give away 250 to 500 ETH of that here in Q1, here in Q4 and Q1, which is pretty exciting, right? We want to get to those types of numbers here shortly. And that just shows you how we're going to keep feeding more value to this ecosystem, more opportunities, more opportunities for everyone, right? And that's kind of the biggest thing that we're building, right, is that these layers are coming together to unlock huge upside. And that huge upside also means not only Ronin, Reapers, right, is really exciting. We have a lot of plans for where Reapers is going to go. We have a lot of plans for where Oath is going to go. I think you're going to see some really large content launches as well from Tribe here in 2024. But what we've hit is we've hit this real clear product market fit, this opportunity for us to support new projects and help them launch to their NFT launch, their token launch, or their game launch, right? And essentially allow these users to give that allocation back to each and every one of you, right? So what is like the most important thing is that I've been working with all of these projects. It's not that, hey, give us money to advise you. It's, hey, give us allocation to feed to our community, and then we'll support you. That's where every conversation starts with, is how do I have community involved no matter what? I'm talking to major partners where they're just trying to feed like the entity money. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't care about the entity money. I care about on-chain assets that we can distribute and give access to the wider community. That's what makes this engine run. And I think like that's one of the biggest things I've realized in 2023 is that we've built a business model alignment that is clear between us as an entity and you as a community, right? And there's like 3 layers to it, right? There's this entity layer, there's this diamond layer, right? And then there's this essential soul layer, right? And we want to give real value to all 3 of those layers continually moving forward. And I think we've done a really good job thus far. Doesn't mean that we can't get better and there's not improvements, but this is where the data is very clear when we look at what is the upside of this entity. It's the fact that you look at, we've given thousands, I'm talking about thousands of net ETH to you guys, and all we've asked for is your time. We're not really asking for anything else. And it's something that you can choose your relationship of time to value, right? Do you value the knowledge and education? Great. Then the relic may feel like a nice bonus or a nice like co-ad value, right? If you're only grinding for the relics, you're probably going to hate this community, to be very honest, because I think it's negative ROI if that's what you're only doing, especially if you're utilizing alts as well, right? Because you're just going to lose them. It's no fun. Don't lose your shit. Just focus on the stuff. Be real here out of this network compared to everyone else. use your alts elsewhere. You're going to get way more gains there as well. And it's one of the biggest things that I'd recommend here as well. But, really interesting to see kind of how what we've learned, how we've distributed. It's been amazing seeing the stories, man. The amount of people who've come to me and said, like, hey, Tribe's the reason why they had wins this year in 2024. In 2023. That's extremely exciting to me. So many of you have already DM'd us your wins, your stories, your opportunities where, many of you who only had $20 or $40 exposure, you're able to make, 5, 10, 20 ETH out of that in some cases, right? Which is really crazy, right? $40 to be able to get access to zero point 0.5, zero point 0.1, zero point 0.5 to 10 ETH in return is pretty amazing. So this is kind of what we want to continue to do, and it's fully transparent. That's the really cool thing about this, right? It's you could see where the relic auctions are going. You could see where the marketplace allocations are going. You can see where our opportunities lie. You can see that as an entity, we're putting you guys first. I want to continue that. And that's what we're going to continue to build here as well too. So lots of cool things coming ahead. As I mentioned, you're going to see some real shifts, right? You're going to see some real changes. We've been able to identify the right role that we want to play. We understand the exact way we want to scale our products, and we have a very good amount of content behind, right? That's the other amazing thing about Tribe is that we're still holding on to, 10 plus collections, right? And that's probably an area, if I look back on 2023, there's probably windows where we could have been more aggressive with launch windows, but it's not that I regret it. It's recognizing we bet on what was more proven and more true in regard to capturing value to our entity and with the minimal, time that we have, right? Because time allocation is our greatest risk. One of the things that, we would want to be like very clear on is that as soon as Tribe starts leading a very wide funnel project that has either deep gamification or deep entertainment content that needs to be built, right? It's going to have a very meaningful impact to the amount of allocation we get, right? It's a trade off. It's a trade off of time and allocation and upside. So, what we bet on 2023 is that with the market being so uncertain, the best thesis is just go eat allocation, right? Like just literally go eat allocation, right? It was the best thing that we can do. And it created so much more net ETH than we could have imagined, right? Like, even if you think about it, right, is that if we Oath, Oath would have needed, with our current supply, needed to hit like a 4 or 5 ETH floor to match the liquidity that we gave to the overall market and our extended community. And more importantly, Oath liquidity would only be trapped between like 1,000 to 1,500 people, when in reality, the network that we created had such huge liquidity that we were able to spread it to over, like close to 2,000, 2,800 unique people as well, which I thought was way more valuable long term, right? As we look at our entity too. So again, these are just decisions that we're making, but this is what's really amazing is that you get to see them in real time, right? And I think this is going to be like our biggest upside here is that we now can introduce these products with more leverage, with more partners, with more, a larger community, with larger insights and with larger focus. And that's what's so nice about Ronin. Ronin isn't built to be this huge gaming engine. It is built to be an art-based and story-based project that has gamified layers introduced. Like, I think Ronin will end up being one of the coolest things on BTC. I really do believe that with already the product we have scoped. But at the same time, it's a product that we can manage because it's something that is not taking on the huge amount of entertainment resources that would traditionally be needed for, say, the previous properties we wanted with Oath. So with Oath, we want to be really ready for that. And we believe Oath is still our crown jewel on ETH. We think both Oath and Reapers are going to do some really, really amazing stuff. But lots of exciting things, and we'll give you guys more updates there. And it's not like any of those haven't got continual support. Reapers has still been massively moving forward on content creation. There is tons of stuff that we've been building on Reapers over the last few months, right? Same thing with Oath and Lost Realm. Lost Realms is like a real ecosystem play, which is going to be pretty exciting. So you're going to see a lot of cool things coming in, and you're going to see a lot of cool insights here as well. So we're going to keep a lot of these pieces aligned with each and every one of you. You'll see different launch strategies. These will not be the same launch strategies that you see in this market. Totally different in this market, right? So this is kind of why we're really going to be building out, very uniquely for how we're trying to sustain. So definitely take a break, try to understand where you want your portfolio to be built, try to understand where you want to sustain. There's going to be a lot more opportunities coming ahead, and we're going to give you guys a bunch more allocation as well to a handful of products. So with that all, I'm going to let you all go. We're going to enjoy the rest of this week, and we'll hopefully chat soon. Bye-bye now.